Hello, my name is Anthony. Come close and you will see there is nothing wrong with me. No need to stare, it's just a chair. It lets me move without a care. It started with a boo-boo on my brain, and yes, the strength is hard to gain.
I had this consideration of photographing a child and making them a storybook character in a famous nursery rhyme or children's story. You know, it just led to a lot of research. So we created Chicago Treasure, which is really, as I said, a totally unique book. Nothing like it on the market. Nothing has ever been done. You know, here's what I want to do. What do you think about photographing kids with disabilities? And she said, Larry, if you do that, I want you to remember one thing. Include them, but don't distinguish them. So yes, it would be a wonderful thing to have these kids with disabilities, but don't distinguish them from other kids, which at first was my first thought. I would say, oh, this child had cerebral palsy, or this child, you know, was not able to walk for other reasons. And she said, no, you include them. And I never forget those words.
I was very excited. I was surprised, very surprised. And so once I actually got to see the full book in person, it was awesome. Kids who sometimes may look different or may have a disability, it will show they are like everyone else and that they don't have to feel different or for example, like an outsider. Like we are all the same.
I think seeing Anthony as a character surrounded by really cool illustrations and all of the other kids with all the other disabilities and what he was able to create and his imagination is outstanding. I think it's a good insight for people to see that he's no different than all the other kids.
They're people, you know? So it's just, you know, looking at this whole situation in a different lens.
His heart is huge and he's got a great personality. So I think it's a nice way to open their eyes to other people's situations.
I had finished photographing Rachelle. Her mother came to pick her up in school. And she said, Larry, thank you so much for photographing my daughter and including her in your book. And we hugged each other. I'll never forget that moment. Because who would have thought that this young blind girl without eyes would become, I always told the kids, they'd become famous, they'd become I was always kidding, of course, they'd become stars because of their inclusion, you know, in a book of this kind that would be sold maybe around the world. And that hug meant more to me than the book itself. So I just realized how inspirational, you know, this could be by people looking at a book of this kind and seeing that even though we don't point it out, it's kind of evident there were no limits to the inclusion. I knew the book could be, I think, a really big fundraiser. And again, the proceeds donated to the Lighthouse. And simply, the book has become known by all the recent reviews of the book, by bloggers and so on. It's a book of inclusion.